other towns were doing. And I think that is totally within the means of his job and what we pay him for, so that we can make good decisions and not just make decisions based on, not having information. The Town of Proctor Facebook page is not official, and it is not run by the Town of Proctor. And the website, it usually gets a cleanup, I think, around once a year. Stan used to do it. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I was, and Greg is not getting extra payment for looking into some of this stuff. This is in his regular job description type of work. So there isn't, and I agree on the electrical panel. Seems to me we also got ticketed by the, I've forgotten whether it was the OSHA inspection or something about that electrical panel. So it was not replaced just because it was a frivolous thing. It, I think the other panel was older, and we'd had to buy a separate panel, and it's much better to put it all into one panel.
I think it was on Wade's,
Yes.
our insurance company. I think it was on his reports.
Yep. So, and the liner is a big thing, and we're going to have to bond for it. There's no doubt in my mind. And if the top edge is bad, it's gone. They both lagoons have gone way beyond their estimated lifetime, and we've studied it back 8 or 10 years ago, and it's something that's got to be done, because we can't have storage leaking through the liner and back into Otter Creek. So there's way more than most people would understand unless they've been on the board and gone down and been involved with that, with the whole sewage lagoon. And so that's really some really rough criticisms. It's good that it's brought up, but I think.
Okay, is there any other comments that anybody has?
No, so Philip, I would love to, I know it's COVID or whatever, but I'd love to have you come in and just take a look at what I'm working on and how decisions are being made. By no means am I trying to spend more money than I have to or want to. I mean, I'm a steward of your money. I'm actually going to be a taxpayer in this town in about 2 days. So I'll be a steward of my own money. And the idea here is to make things efficient and not spend money where we don't have to. But a lot of the things that money has been spent on lately are things that are really unavoidable. When we got that building opened up and got the roof opened up and things, we found out that there were beams that weren't connected and things that were rotted away. We had an electric panel that was antiquated. There were a lot of things that just weren't really known at the time. What
does antiquated mean?
I'm sorry?
What does antiquated mean?
Means it was out of date. So like that. So, there was a beam up there that was actually.
Okay, I understand now. I understand what you're saying. Okay.
We kind of opened up, some things that we weren't prepared for. You're right with the elevator shaft. I've actually been talking with the design engineer on that to find out if there's something they can do for us on that, because that's a code issue, and they are, they're required to build to code. So what their stance is on that is that they built it to code, but it still didn't meet the requirements. So I'm working on that. I can't guarantee something's going to come of that, but you're absolutely right on that one. That's something that they should have caught on their end, and they should be held accountable to that. You're exactly right. The other things are things like I said, we had 2 beams that actually, once we opened it up, we found that the floor above was supported by really hardly nothing. They were bowed out, and there was the roof was coming, or the ceiling was coming down. What else did we find, Tom? There was all sorts of things. But some of the things we decided to do and some we didn't. Some we felt they weren't important enough that we're not going to spend the money right now. we did have an old water line that went underneath the floor. And we said, you know, we better fix that because it's going to break. It's a bad material. It actually ended up breaking when they put the floor in. After they put the concrete on it, that line broke. And luckily we'd already put another water line in. So there actually have been a lot of things that have come up with that building that we have not spent money on. We have really just sat down and figured what are unavoidable. What items on there are things that we felt had to get done. And this is the list that we had. Again, the electric panel is one that you're kind of on. The issue with that is that it was old. It did have to be moved anyway, so they were going to have to move it regardless. The only thing we
move it, I understand how that works. They want us.
Yeah.
I understand how that works. Yeah.
So the only we paid for was actually the materials, but we got a new panel that has more open slots in case we ever want to expand something else into that building. And I know that's an old building, but if we ever put an addition or whatever, there's actually more open breakers. And I'm not an electrician, but I think more open slots for additional services. Does that make sense? Additional
Yes.
plugs.
Yes.
So that allows us to do that as well. But all we paid for really was mostly just the materials, because they were going to have to move it. They were going to have to relocate it anyway. The liner is not something that I want to do. And the idea was not to do it tomorrow because
I thought you were pushing to start
No.
pumping. Now, and that was disturbing because I thought you said we had 5 to 10 years. Then you were like, we
No,
need to be pumping now. So I was confused.
I'd like to start the conversation and the thought process. And, you know, when you go to buy a car, you go to buy a house. I think it's nice to have a little bit of money set aside that you can apply towards that possibly, if you can, so that whenever you get that big hefty bill, you're not paying the whole amount. So the concept is to look at what's called a 5-year capital improvement plan or a 10-year capital improvement plan. And that is basically, what are we going to see 5 or 10 years out? Big purchases that we're going to have to make. And how do we plan for those things? That's what I was talking about. Has nothing to do with buying anything immediately. I would say that we do have a pretty substantial patch that we have to fix because of the turtles or whatever caused it. Once that's done, I've been told by the people that work out there and the people that are experts that they think this will last about 10 more years. It is, well, what was the year it was? I think it was built 84, 86. Somebody help me with that.
86, I think.
So, and it's a 30-year liner, so it is beyond its useful life, but we really think that we can get about 10 more years, and that allows us 8 to 10 years to come up with a plan and come up with the funding. Not tomorrow, not next year, but 8 to 10 years to come up with that funding so that whenever it's time, we can start moving on that. That's what I was working on. The gun rights thing, that was simply something that the select board had asked me to look into. All I did was look at other
You
towns.
volunteered.
Yeah, well, I have to. I mean, that's my job is to research things. You know, if they have questions, my job is to research and get back with them. One of the bigger things that I do as a town manager is make sure that my select board have the information that they need to make good decisions. And so I come from Oklahoma, so gun control is not something that, you know, well, I don't want to get political here. So I'm not an advocate for gun control. Let's just say that. But I was asked to research, or I volunteered to research about the BB guns because it's nice, you know, it's nice for them to know what other places are doing before they make decisions themselves. And that's something I will continue to do because, you know, my select board, they need to have information from all different perspectives before they make a rational and good decision. And that's what I was trying to do in that situation. But yeah, you know, don't look at the Facebook page as far as, you know, what's going on in town. If you got questions about what's really happening, I would love to sit down with you and talk about what's going on. I really would. I know with the COVID, you know, we can put masks on, we can sit 5 foot, 6 foot away or whatever, but I would love to sit down and just talk with you about what's really happening.
Great. No, I'd appreciate that. I appreciate getting to know you. I like Stan. After hearing you explain things to me, I think you would have no problem earning my trust and whatnot. Yeah. And I could probably be of help to you sometimes as well.
Good.
So that'd be nice.
I'm definitely looking, you know, I'm not going to come in and cut everything out, but I do want to try to, you know, make us as efficient as we can be. If we can have some cost savings, we're talking tonight about a proposal, a water and sewer proposal that I put together that might have some cost savings involved with that. So by no means am I looking to just come in and start spending money. That is not my style at all.
Yeah, but you have to excuse because, you know, when you watch the meeting and you see from a certain point of view, you have to kind of understand it's just like, you know, just like this to this. So that's why I asked for clarification and I really appreciate you guys clarifying things for me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And again, on my end, what I'm trying to do is simply being unbiased and just present the information that I know and put it all out there. and because it's their job really to make those decisions and then direct me on which direction where I should go. So give me a call. Give me a call, and we'll set up a meeting if you want to come down and take a look and talk to me. I'd love to talk to you.
Cool. Thank you.
Is there
Thank you,
anything else you guys want to add to that?
Yes.
Bill or Charlotte? Or Tom?
Philip and Charlotte, thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
Thank
Since
you,
we've been
Tom.
on Zoom
Yeah.
meetings here, we don't get a lot of questions, and thanks for calling in.
And, yeah.
Okay. All right, there's no guests. Good stuff. I just want to add about the community event Saturday night in town with the fireworks. Thank you for anybody who participated. I think it went off well, considering only 4 of us did it all. But everything was free to the community. We gave away hot dogs, pastries, water, pumpkins, and then the fireworks. So I just want to make it clear on here, in case anybody is listening, that the fireworks are not paid by the taxpayers. They are funded by our yard, and we paid completely for them through our group. So as was everything else, or donated. So I'd like to give a big thank you to Proctor Gas for donations, Price Chopper for all the sweets that they gave us, Omia for the pumpkins, and the fire department for standing by in case there was any issues, and also North Star for putting on, I think, what was a great fireworks show. So
Judy, if I can add, I just thank you to you and thank you to our yard. What I've heard is 99% overwhelmingly positive. And so it was a really nice thing, I think, for people in Proctor. And even though there was some disagreement about it, I think overall it was a wonderful event. So thank you.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I agree too. Pauline and I enjoyed the fireworks immensely.
Yeah, they were amazing this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything else to add?
I do. The Beaver Pond Committee worked very hard this weekend and stained all the picnic tables up there, did some picking up, and we had started a new trail, so we made a set of stairs at one of the trailheads on Florence Road.
That's awesome.
Looks great.
All right. Nothing else to add. We'll go to highway.
Okay, so the first thing we have is just a continuation of the bid opening we had. So Champlain Valley actually won the bid for the diesel fuel. And in your packet is just essentially the contract that I need you to approve so that I can have Judy sign this for us and we can move forward on this. The second page is actually the bid tabs. So it'll kind of show you what they and Irving had and who won and how.
Okay.
Greg, thank you for doing this. I swear they make it a little complicated. They all send in different numbers, different systems. So thank you.
Sure, sure.
Motion to approve both of the fuel oil and the diesel contract.
We don't have the fuel contract, do we?
No, this is just the diesel. The fuel oil, it's
Diesel.
actually a different company and I'm waiting for them to finalize their contract.
Oh, okay.
So is there a motion to approve the diesel contract?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, Main Street Sidewalk reimbursement request.
Right. So this is just the kind of the finalizing of the grant that we received for the sidewalk here on Main Street. It was a 50-50 grant. So this is the reimbursement request for half of that $79,493. If I can get this approved and signed, I'll get this shipped off to VTrans right away for reimbursement.
Awesome. Is there a motion to approve the reimbursement request?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
So let me clarify. I'm sorry. Let me just clarify because I missed something. It's actually the grant award is 35.5. It's not half of 79. It's actually 35.5 of that 79. So it's a little less than half.
You're saving us money again. Oh, you're a great guy, Greg.
No, I'm going the other way. I'm sorry.
He's
Sorry.
spending it.
Oh, you should have left it alone.
I know.
Is there a motion to approve the reimbursement for 35.5?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Bye.
Okay.
I think the sidewalk turned out very nice.
Yes.
It did.
Greg, do you need us all to sign this?
No, no. Since we're doing the Zoom, I believe before I started, you had already approved, I think, Judy to do signature as the entire select board because of the COVID thing. So we're just sort of continuing on with that same concept.
Great, thank you.
All right. Grant in Aid program, the invitation to participate.
So this is something we do every year. This comes from the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, but it's a grant to do stormwater projects on hydrologically connected roads, which in Vermont, pretty much almost every road is hydrologically connected. So this is just the invitation that's saying that, yes, we would like to participate in this. What will happen is regional planning department will come out. They'll look at a couple different areas, a couple different projects that we're proposing. They will help us out with the engineering or whatever on it. We will submit this. We will do the work. This is an 80-20 grant, but the 20% can all be in kind. So there's actually no out-of-pocket, no actually cash out-of-pocket to the town. It's all work that we do anyway. So the state started this a few years ago whenever they started doing the general permit, because that was sort of an unfunded mandate that will cause us to do a lot of stormwater improvements. So this is how they sort of funded that. So anyway, this is just an application or an invitation, I'm sorry, telling them, yeah, we would like to participate. If they'd like to come out and look at some of our potential projects, we would like to get these done and move forward. Again, this is something that there is really no cost to the town other than the labor and manpower that would be doing the project. There's no cash cost to the town.
Do you think it's worth it?
I do. I've done this I did it in Bethel as well. And we have actually 2 projects. I've already talked to John. He's got 2 projects in mind that he'd like to get done. It's typically underground stormwater or ditches, ditch lining, things like that. In Proctor, it's more, I think, underground stormwater. And it's nice because, like I said, it's 80-20 and the 20 is all in kind. It can be all in kind stuff. So our equipment, our manpower, things like that can all count towards our 20% on this.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
Okay. So is motion to participate?
So moved, yes.
All right.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else under highway? It's
So
nice
I'm sorry,
patchwork that they've done around town in some of the bigger areas where there's potholes, that they've covered up really well. So, because it's funny because people came and complained to me about it, and that very same day, it's like I drove and it's like, it's all fixed. So I was like, when did you go over it? So,
Yeah.
so it's kind of nice to see that.
Good. Good.
And
Greg,
Market
do
Street,
you know when John is going to take care of that leak up on High Street?
He has told me, we talked about that this morning. He said either the end of this week or early next week. Because people are concerned that as it gets colder, it's going to start to freeze up. So I think he told me next week, but
Yeah,
I'll verify that.
I figured he had it in
And then-
a tentative.
Yeah, it's in the bin there to get done. And then we've got a little bit more striping to do, a crosswalk or 2, and kind of get ready for winter and all that. And there's some cleanup on that water break we had on was it West Street that we'd like to get done as well.
Market Street looks nice.
Yeah, I wish they would stripe. Wish they'd have striped it after we finished it and not before. But
Yeah,
it looks good. They did a good job.
yes.
Just quick.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing else to add to highway? Is there a motion to go into the Board of Water Commissioners?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Simon's contract.
Again, this is a continuation of our last discussion. So the 2 proposals were provided to the select board for review, and we had talked about possibly either having some more discussion or making a determination of which direction you'd like to go for the next foreseeable future. So both the town's proposal as well as the Simon's proposal are in your packet.
This has been kicked around for quite a few years.
Yes.
You know, ever since Simon's, the contractor's been here. And if you feel confident and you think we can save money, I'm for it.
Yes.
I have some issues with it because it's not really a cost savings if you look at a lot of things. Bottom line, when I figure it out, and I think there's a swap, if you look at the document sent on the first page, it says 3 years, 204, 5 year, 196. And on the back page, it's the total opposite. It's got 3 year, 196.8, 5 year, 204.
I didn't pick up on that.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think the first page is correct.
Yeah. The first page is correct. It's more for shorter term.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I was
Right.
flipped them over. Yep.
So basically, and one thing, I mean, I just went through all this just to consider the expenses. I mean, if you're comparing, they're in a flat rate for 5 years or 3 years with a cost savings, basically, if we did it our way, only 26,800 if you round it up. I mean, you're talking 30,000.
Right.
And their cost isn't going to change. That $30,000 that we're saving this year is not going to be $30,000 next year or the year after or the year after. You've got to take into consideration medical, which is huge. The city just went up and they increased our insurance 28% this year. 28%. You factor that in on top of workers' comp insurance that we have to pay, and that's going to jump way past what they're offering us. That's my opinion based on the contract and what I've seen in my working with insurances and went through the league too.
So if you do just a 3%, really just inflation after 5 years, it's 190, comes up to $196,000. So to your point, we're at almost there after 5 years. That doesn't include any sort of insurance or anything like that. That's simply just inflation. If we
Right.
figure cost of everything
Right.
other than insurance would be 3%.
You're saying ours, if we went with the town, local.
Yes, and you put in a 3% increase every year on that cost.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is unreasonable at all. It comes up to roughly 196,000 after 5 years.
Mhm. I just have concerns because the contract ends in, 48 hours and we have no one on board certified, hired or anything to take on this role. And it's a major piece of property in the town of Proctor that something goes wrong, it's going to cost a lot more than that $30,000 we're saving.
So I did speak with Mrs. Simon late last week, and we're good for the next 60 days. They're going to stay on one way or another. They're going to stay on for the next 60 days through either a transition or through just the continuation of their contract.
Excellent. Thank you, Greg. Let's bring this up again. Discuss it a little more.
Did you want to put together an executive session for the end of this meeting tonight, or what would you like to do? Or do we need to go
How
that
about
way?
the next meeting?
Wait,
Give us a little time to dig deeper. How does everyone feel about that?
But I think we're going to be able to make some savings by having it in-house, and won't have to stop and wait for them to get it done. We're looking at just one position that probably we've got to hire somebody out maybe.
So the proposal talks about hiring 2 positions. It's basically one that is I call them tiers, but there's a top tier, which would be the director or the supervisor who oversees the entire public works department. And then you have the next one, which is basically your assistant chief operator who runs the day-to-day of the water sewer. And then you have a third person who would be basically splitting time between, or not necessarily splitting, but however it works out, dividing up their time between the water sewer department and the public works or streets department based off of whatever the workload looked like. That's why there is a small reduction of the general fund expenses, because I switched over some of that person's pay. Part of that's paid out of water sewer as opposed to 100% out of general fund.
Right. It was just too bad we lost it when we did, and I think it's prudent to have it all under our hat.
And again, there are some assumptions that are made in this. One big one is the insurance. So I made assumptions that all of the employees that would be working would all have a family plan. So if there's not a family plan on that insurance, there's a pretty significant savings there. But I wanted to show you sort of worst case scenario, what you were looking at to see if it made sense to do this.
Thank you for all your work on that.
Ben, did you have a question?
No.
I just have a question because I mean, it's always been Simon's. Can you refresh my memory as to why we didn't we go from town to Simon's? Is it because of employee base? Go ahead, Bruce. Tell me why.
Excuse me. Yes, it was because of harassment of the employees. And I guess if somebody wants to know the full story, just give me a buzz. I think I can refresh everybody, but it was just, they were under so much pressure by looking for somebody that was looking over their shoulder with binoculars, and it just, that's all I'll say.
And so how many years have we had Simon's? I think I remember what you're talking about, but I'm not sure. How many years, though, have we had Simon's?
I would say maybe, I've forgotten whether it's 6 or 9 years.
Yeah, I want to say I remember seeing either 2012 or 2013. Somewhere in there.
Okay. So I think I recall because I did live here then. So
Yeah.
Did we ever have any issues with them over those years?
Simons, you mean?
No,
Right.
Or our employees?
No, Simon's.
well, I think we've had problems scheduling, the highway department to do things, and waiting for Simons to be able to have somebody there to do it. So I don't know. It worked before, and I think it can work again.
Lisa?
I think one piece that perhaps Bruce forgot to share was one of the primary reasons were the number of fines that the town was receiving from the state. And I'm sure Greg can go back and look at that to document that we were receiving it on conditional permits for a very long period of time.
I believe we are one of the few towns that contracts out our sewerage in the area.
Yeah. Go along with that, Tom.
Okay, so you want to talk about this at the next meeting and put it on hold for now?
Yes, let's put it on for executive session in the next meeting.
Okay, and I would like everybody to basically look at the whole thing. I know it'd be nice to be in-house, but look at the bottom line and is it really a cost savings to us or not? Or what are also as the other issues that we may be faced with, instead of saving $30,000 a year or the first year only, what could be, other things that we foresee could be going wrong, like maybe, watering down our current employees so much that they don't have the time to be down there. Just the inflation costs of, insurance. What about retirement? That's not factored into here. You know, and again, the workers' comp. And I can tell you right now, with workers' compensation, you get one person injured and the league is your mod rate's gonna go up and your insurance costs are gonna go way up. So that's just something I want to put out there, just so people are thinking the big picture.
So just to clarify, thank you. Everything is included in that, except you're right, the retirement is not in there because I believe our vesting time is 5 years. That's why I didn't put retirement in there. But there is retirement for the other employees in there, but the workman's comp insurance and all that has been included in the cost, just not the retirement. You're exactly right.
So can I ask another question? When Simons has overtime, that's already included in our contract, or is that above our contract?
So we budget for $6,000 per department, one for water, one for sewer, for their overtime. And the way the contract reads is that anything over essentially their normal day, 40 hours in a normal week, is overtime. So when we have power outages on the weekend or things like that, we had a planned power outage that they knew about, and we still got charged quite a bit. Anything over and beyond is charged at, I don't remember the number, sorry, 75 an hour, I believe, something like that. It's in the contract. But anything beyond Monday through Friday, kind of 7 to 3 or whatever they work, is considered overtime. And that's billed separate.
Can you prepare maybe for us? I kind of want to see what they're getting paid above contract, whether it be for overtime, additional testing. What above their contract are we paying for?
Sure, it would just be the
What
overtime.
does that come to?
Sure, I can get you that. It's just overtime because the testing and everything is coming out of our budget anyway. I can look historically what we've been paying them for overtime.
And my other question is, if there was to be a fine, would that be covered by Simons, or is that covered by Proctor, the town of Proctor, correct?
We are the owners, so we are the ones on the hook.
Okay.
We're the
I just want to
ORC.
clarify that
Yeah.
no matter who's in charge, we're getting the fine.
Well, they would get something because they are the ORC, which is Operator and Responsible Control, I believe, which means they sign the paperwork. Actually, I sign the paperwork, but they prepare everything and they do all the testing. But whenever the reports go out, I sign them as the owner. So ultimately, it is on the town because we are the owners of the system. So I'll look at the overtime for Simons and bring that next meeting as well.
So can I ask, so if we bring it to the next meeting, because I'm going to address it to you, Ben, why do you feel it needs to be an executive session?
My thought was just because we're talking about a contract negotiation that it would be handled in executive session. The rationale for the decision doesn't have to be, but just so that we can freely discuss it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
If I'm wrong, then I have no problem.
Yes,
Yeah, I'd like to do it that way.
it's personnel, so it definitely is executive session.
Well, it's personnel, only if we're talking about current personnel.
Which there is an element of that, I guess. But I think
Now an open session, so.
yeah, I think to Judy's point, it doesn't put us in a adverse bargaining position, I guess, which is part of what you do executive session for. Is if you're trying to get a better deal or something like that. But I've got the executive session stuff here somewhere. I can find it and see if it's truly needs to be here or not. But
So my other question, I guess, would also be before we decide that part is, there aren't any other companies around besides Simons that does waterworks.
I think it's limited.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions so I have.
I do not know. I don't know myself.
Okay.
One thing that bothered me, the last contract, we had to twist their arm to get them to mow the lawn down there. Our people had been going down and mowing their lawn for them. They finally begrudgingly agreed to mow the lawn. Snow plowing. Our guys,
Yes.
the town crew went down and did the snow plowing down there. Begrudgingly, they finally agreed to do their own snow plowing. It's just, it seems like anytime we ask for anything, it's a struggle.
But isn't that our property?
Yeah, but it's in their contract to maintain it.
Oh, it is in their contract? No.
Yeah, and there's a couple. I mean, there are some other things we can talk about in executive session, but there are a few, or at least 2 deliverables that we haven't gotten in the years. But
Okay.
All right, let's do this in executive session next week, please.
All right, we'll add it to the agenda for the next meeting.
Thank
Okay.
you.
we'll do.
Thank you, guys. Is there anything else underwater? Is there a motion to go out of water commissioners and into the board of sewage commissioners?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So is there anything else under sewage that you want to address, Greg, or anybody else?
It's in my manager's report. We can talk about it there, about the patch and all that, if you'd rather.
Okay. All right.
I'd just like to clarify, we, since we're involved all the time, we understand things through osmosis almost. People coming in once in a while see us replacing the whole liner for millions of dollars. The crew down there and Greg is doing a good job. They're trying to make it last a little longer. It's certainly at the end of its lifespan. We're having issues with it already, and we have been. And if, God forbid we ever had a big tear down there and lost a lot of sewage, there would certainly be hell to pay.
Yes.
So that's something we need to keep patched up, and as we've agreed to put some money aside for the future here.
And there's a big cost with the getting rid of the sludge that you take out before you replace the liner. So that's a tremendous expense.
Yeah.
The last time we looked into that, I think there'll be some stuff in the files on that, Greg.
I actually had that done. It was at the last meeting. I went and talked to our engineer, and they put it at about $200,000, depending on how you do it and who's available to do it. About $200,000 per lagoon for the actual sludge removal. There's anywhere from 3 to 4 feet of sludge in those lagoons, and so it makes sense that you'd have to dump that out and get rid of that before you were to fix the liner, of course.
Yeah.
Years ago, the farmers would take it and put it on the fields as fertilizer, but there's, we have
Can't
found
do that
over the years
anymore.
heavy
Right.
metals and some other not nice stuff in the sludge.
All right. Is there a motion to go out of the board of sewage commissioners back to regular meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Standing committee reports. Are there any reports from any of the committees? Nothing? Any meetings up and running in Rutland anymore? Yeah?
Well, our PC did meet, however, I was on vacation. And I didn't do any meetings for anybody on vacation.
All right. And we won't meet again, most of us, till the middle of next month or beginning of next month, so. Okay.
I can report that the ice cream truck is driving by.
He was here earlier.
I think it's the last one this year from what I've seen. So you better run out and get your ice cream today.
All right, review of the bills.
The solar, we've heard for years it's complicated, and I'm sure it is.
Yes.
I would like to, and Greg has offered, and I appreciate that. Hope to hear a little more about this in the future.
I will definitely have something to you. It may not be all the answers, but I will have something that resembles some answers to you at the next meeting. I might even reach out to, it's Green Maple, but the actual company I believe that we got the solar from is something else. It's green. It's another green.
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. Is that right? Is that it? Yeah. So there might be some additional resources I can reach out to as well. I read the contract and it says, it's just kind of like it's a percentage of this number and then this number goes to this. And so it's really hard to sort of give you the right answer. I want to give you, the correct answer here. So I'll definitely reach out and see if I can't get somebody to maybe teach me so that I can teach you. But I'll have something to you definitely by the next meeting.
I think Celia understands it because Stan tried to explain it to us last year, I think, when we got a payment of some sort and it moved around to, I don't know, this account to that account. It was very complicated, but I think Celia understands it.
Well, yeah. See, the way it works is we get so much of a credit from Green Mountain Power actually gives us the credit, but it goes through the Green Maple, and then the Green Maple I think are the ones who produce the solar, and we get a percentage of what's produced, and then we have to, I guess, I don't know yet, but it's kind of like a 3-tiered steppy step thing. So I will definitely get you something.
Okay. I have some questions of some of these invoices that were paid. I don't know what they are from. An ambulance and a lot of medical coverages.
I get that. That is, so it was explained to me by Stan because I asked that question months ago. There is a fund that people in town that have a problem paying or, they need help paying their medical bills. There's a fund in town that the town oversees, but it's not out of the town's money. Does that make sense? We oversee whatever this trust fund is, the town does. So that's what she's paying here. And I don't know what the parameters for that are, but I do know that it's not out of town funds.
Right. Yes.
Okay, then I'd like to see the account it comes from, that it's not coming from our account.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Where does the money come from?
Yeah, is this all? Are you talking about on page 1? Oh, the Rutland Regional Medical Center, all the Courier Medical,
Yes.
Yeah,
and Dennis Medical, and all those?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from a fund.
I'll look into it.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
kind of, it replicates the same thing as like is it the
Proctor fund.
Evelyn Peterson Fund, maybe? It isn't coming from the town's money.
Okay.
She
And
has,
I just- to
she
see
has
what-
to move it from that fund to the town's money to write a check. Because I asked this months ago when there was some on here, and Stan did explain them.
Okay, because it seems odd that, who makes this decision that these are paid?
I don't know, and I think that has to do with why it goes from one to the other.
Yeah, because I don't code these. I code everything that comes through typically, but I don't code these. So these are
Right.
coming through in a different way, and I will find out. And
I'm just wondering if there's a fund in the committee that, supervises that fund, and they're the ones that say, yes, this is good to pay, this is good to pay, this is good to pay.
right. Yeah, I'll check into it.
Okay,
I think it's overseen by a bank or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not overseen by Proctor. It's
Okay.
overseen by somebody else, but the money has to go through in that sense.
okay,
But it's not our town money.
all right.
I'll get some clarification for you.
Okay, thank you, guys. All
So just to put it out there, the reason why we're pretty high this time is we had a pretty substantial school tax payment. That's why we're looking at 512,000 because 470 of that or whatever was to the school for taxes. So we're not spending that much. It's the schools.
Ooh.
Thank goodness we're not spending that much. All right. So is it okay? Is there a motion to approve the invoices so I can sign it off tomorrow?
Motion to approve?
All right, and Lisa, you have the second it? Sorry about that, Bruce.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and Lisa, you have the correct amount, right? The 512,422. Okay,
Give
thank you.
us thumbs up.
Got it. All right, Green Up Day discussion.
So I put this on here because we had talked at the last meeting about doing sort of another Green Up Day or a Green Up Day since the last one was missed. And we have the opportunity to sort of piggyback on the Rutland Solid Waste is going to be doing their what do they call it?
HHW.
Yeah, not their toxic waste, but their whatever it is, household.
Hazardous waste collection day. It's
There you go.
October
10th,
6th, 10th. Yeah.
October
'Cause I
10th.
have an
So
email. I have an email.
there was discussion about doing a green up day, and that was fine. But when I started talking with people about this, and I actually received some calls because some people, I guess, were probably reading the minutes or something. They said, well, are you going to have branches? Are you going to have this? Are you going to have that? And is this going to be like we used to do with the big containers and all that kind of stuff? And I just wanted to make sure that I could tell them what you guys really wanted from this. In my opinion, what I understood Green Up Day to be was really you have green bags, and you're cleaning up the right of way, you're cleaning up whatever, and you're leaving that bag in the right of way, and we'll pick it up and we'll take it away. Is that what you want?
That's what Green Up Day is.
That's what I was talking
Right.
about. Just that kind of green up day only.
Okay, so second step is I would like to propose in the future to possibly look beyond that and do something a little more of like we used to, which sounds like was more of a community cleanup sort of a day.
You're talking about dump day?
Is that what you called it? Okay.
Some of
Yeah.
these, it sounds like some of the questions that you were fielding from people was referring to dump day, where we have dumpsters down at the dump and you can bring your brush and you can bring up
Yes.
certain amounts.
Yes. So is that something that we might look at for the future? I think I might be able to get with Casella and possibly get the containers for free. I don't know. I mean, it's typically a tax write-off for them.
It was a large cost to us. It wasn't just
Really?
the containers. It
Right.
was the hours that the town crew spent
Okay.
picking up, and it was also other people using it that didn't live in the town of Proctor. And
Okay.
leaves and branches can be brought to the transfer station for the same as if they brought them to our dump day. It's no different.
Okay, so I will move forward we're basically doing a green up day as if this was springtime. I have a small roll of green bags here. I know.
I
Okay.
had green up day usually in the spring now because Jim Moore gave it to me. Thank you, Jim Moore. So I have all the bags.
Okay, because my thought on this was that we were basically somebody was going to hand them out to people,
Yes.
and we will simply just have our truck available to pick them up off the curb. Is that?
That was my thought. I will
Okay.
make them available on Hazardous Waste Day. I'll put it out there to the Facebook groups. And then I talked to John, and yes. And then the only thing I got from Mark was if I thought it was going to be abundant, and I said no. There's a possibility of tires, but we have to pay for the tires whether they're on Green Up Day in March or they're on Green Up Day in October. So the cost is pretty much the same, but we really do need some greening up. It's pretty bad out there.
So when I get people who come to me and ask me where to get the bags, where do I direct them?
They usually contact me. I usually put it up, and then I usually make sure there should be some at the town office.
Right.
And then I usually try to make sure I accommodate people. Like during COVID, I had some in the park. I just replenished it a few at a time because we also don't want people to use them as their garbage bags.
Right.
So people contacted me and I just handed them out. I just brought them what they asked for.
Okay.
And I'm available. I usually sit down at the town office that entire day from whatever our HHW time is. I usually sit there that entire day.
Okay. Well, I'll let the highway department know it's just going to be the regular cleanup, take the bags from the curb.
Does the district charge us for the waste?
No. If it's in a green bag, the state has mandated that it's supposed to be free.
In the spring.
Yeah, well, that's true, but
And so Mark says, let's see how much waste we have. I don't think it's going to be
no.
abundant. But I think we do have a lot of waste out there. West Proctor Road, Gorham Bridge, Florence Road. There's a lot. Just walking, I see it. So
And the fact that we didn't use these in the spring, he should be
Yes.
fine with us.
yeah, we did. We
Could
did green up in the spring too. We just didn't have as many people because of COVID.
Boy, I don't like answers that, we'll see
Well-
about the price later.
I will find out if there's a cost.
He sent me this email. I'll tell you what the email said because I asked. Hang on. So October 10th from 11 to 2. And he's not sure what an extra green up day would be. Off the top of my head, I think $140 a ton. I don't think we've ever had a ton for green up day. For trash. And then he asked about other things. The usual tires that we find, we always have to pay for it, even if it is green up day. Green up day just asked, how many did you bring? So, and talking to John, we never come close to a ton, ever.
Okay, is there anything else anybody wants to add on green up?
So are we moving forward with green up? Yes?
I
Yeah,
think so.
Okay.
I mean, our other option is just either going to get left there or the town crew is going to have to spend their time picking it up and we're going to pay for it anyways.
yeah.
Either way, we're going to end up paying for it.
So if we have to go in with one dump truck load, I think it's worth it.
I'm a yes.
Fine with me.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. The Tri-Town Bike Loop Scoping Study.
Again, this is kind of a continuation. At the last meeting, I had presented you with a memo from the Regional Planning Commission and to talk about a scoping study that I had talked with the town managers from West Rutland and Pittsford about whether we wanted to contribute $2,000 towards a scoping study to do a study on whether or not it made sense to put a bike loop in through these three towns. The direction I was given was to find out what Pittsford and West Rutland had done, and they included in your packet our emails where they had both approved the expenditure for the scoping study. There is an additional piece to this. There was some discussion about whether Rutland Town needed to be included because a lot of the endpoints or terminuses, I don't know if that's a word, but endpoints where the path would come in actually go to Rutland Town. So they have been invited to participate. I don't know that they're going to, but that could potentially lower the price a little bit. But at this point, I want to assume it's still the $2,000. West Rutland and Pittsford did approve this, and it's up to you whether or not you feel that Proctor would want to take part in the scoping study.
Can I ask, if Rutland Town decides not to do this, do we still go forward?
We still go forward, but all that does is change the scoping study itself. So, that's one of the variables is if we can terminate in West or in Rutland Town, then that's one of the designs that they'll look at. But if they say, no, you can't do that because we're not participating, they'll have to look at alternatives. They may still put that option in there, but they're going to have to look at other alternatives that might cut across the mountains or something. I don't know. So them not participating would have a little bit of a, something to do with this, but the designs would still be there. It's just a matter of whether or not they make sense or they could happen.
I personally cannot, under any circumstances, see where we're going to get $2,000 worth of benefit from this. That's just my 2 cents.
And as a reminder, we have done a scoping study internally. So we have one that we did within the town itself, which outlined, and probably had a different title than scoping study, but which outlined some of the bike and ped areas that we would like to prioritize. That's why the park sidewalk got done, and that's why the East Street sidewalk is I'm working on the grant for that. It's because we kind of did an internal one. This is just something beyond that would go further out and would include both towns, as well as cutting through Proctor in some way.
I think we're missing a great opportunity here if we don't go with this. The carriage trail has brought people into town. It's used a lot, and you know, if we can continue on with Pittsford, West Rutland, Rutland Town, bike trails are growing, ped paths are growing. The rail trail from Castleton, they extended it this year, rebuilt it all. That was quite a project, all the way down to West Paulette, I believe they said. That's miles. And if we could get on the bandwagon, I think it would help Proctor in the long run.
So I may have missed this earlier, but was there any cost after the study is done and putting in the bike trail?
Certainly.
So the initial cost is $2,000 to do the scoping study only.
Right.
So the next step would be, if we decided we wanted to move forward on one of the projects, there would be some grants that would be applied for, which you would have to have a scoping study done. But no, beyond the $2,000, there's not any additional cost. If you get the scoping study back and say, and Proctor says, well, we don't like any of those ideas, we're done.
Right. Oh, I get that. I'm just saying, once it's done and they say, yeah, we want to go forward with this, then what's the dollar amount to put the trail in?
Sure, and that's what the study's about. Yeah, is that,
Right.
you know, you look at them and say, okay, well, this one looks good. It looks like it's feasible. Here's the cost. So then that's the next step, is to figure out, you know, what the cost would be and what grants are available, and then who divvies up how much of the pie, for sure.
It just seems like $6,000 is a lot of money. It's $2,000 for our town, but it's $6,000 total. $2,000 for our town, and our town can decide it's great, and one of the other towns decide it's not so great, and there's no
And they got to rescope it.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Rutland Town is certainly a critical portion of that. I can't see them going up over parts of West Mountain if Rutland Town doesn't. That would be a wicked climb on a bike.
Right. And again, I don't want to speak for them because I don't know which way they've gone with it. I just know that they were invited to the table.
I know $2,000 isn't a lot, but considering this year and where we're at with our budget,
Yeah.
we're not going to be in the black. And every little bit, I'd rather cut something that's valuable to us than, you know, like save someplace else than spend $2,000 on just a survey, you know, study. That's just my opinion.
It's a hard thing to.
I'm torn. I mean, I don't want to spend the money, but I also see where these paths and trails really change how a community works. So I'm pretty torn. I mean, I'm not a cyclist at all, but it seems to be a growing trend. You know, I'm torn. I don't really want to spend the money if it's not going to be something feasible for us to do this year or next year, because we don't know where we are and we have a couple other big projects.
We're going to be cutting the budget a lot this next time around. And
Yes.
last time we remember how hard of time we had. We were stuck with certain things you just couldn't cut. So, you know, taking 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 away from certain things is going to be, I think, is going to be necessary.
When is this due? When is the answer?
October 30th.
So was Rutland Town going to talk about this at their select board meeting?
Again, I don't know. I just saw an email come across that said maybe we should invite Rutland Town to the table, and the town manager in West Rutland said, I will send them an email. And that was the last that I've heard of this. I don't know if they have said yes, no. I don't know.
Well, did they change the deadline to October 30th? I thought I saw that somewhere.
I
Unless
thought it was before then.
It was September 30th originally.
Yeah, it was September 30th originally. So, I mean, I think they're still holding to that, waiting for us to say yes or no. I don't know what the Rutland Town part of this is going to do, if it's going to go anywhere. But at this point, My understanding is they're just waiting for our final determination by the 30th, and then they'll move forward.
I just think Rutland Town is a key
Yes.
player.
Yeah.
It will not work without getting at least they're okay that, hey, sure, you can spout a bike path onto Route 4 business, Route 4 in Rutland Town. Because I already know if it's going to go up Route 4, it's a no. That was a big, huge select board meeting that I went to. I already know they're not going to go for that.
Yeah.
They already painted the bike lanes on Route 4.
Not when you get to Rutland Town.
Yeah.
Rutland Town
What
voted
Proctor Road comes onto Route 4.
Rutland Town voted no.
Well, they've already painted the bike lanes.
You're talking about Woodstock Ave, Carrie.
No, I'm talking about Rutland Town because I went to that meeting.
Well, they're already green and they're already lined out from the paving.
Interesting, because that was a big no. So I guess,
Well, the application's due, due tomorrow.
Wednesday.
No, Wednesday, the 30th. So it's due by Wednesday. So I think we have to make a decision whether or not we want to tonight.
My decision is no.
My decision's no.
My decision's yes.
I'd go with it if it was Rutland Town was going to be in it, but I just don't see how they're going to bypass Rutland Town. I can't see how Proctor can tie into West Rutland without having Rutland Town into the pie.
Okay. Carrie?
I think I'm going to go no for now because we just don't have enough information. And maybe this will come up again. I just don't see us having the budget. Even if the scoping study goes through and it's good, I don't see us having the money in the budget to put in our portion.
And I think, logically, if all these other towns buy into it, they'd be foolish not to come back to Proctor and say, hey, this part's been built. Can we connect?
And we can talk about that, but I think we got some roads we got to pave. There's too much.
We have sewer things and water things and lagoon liners.
All right. Okay, thank you, guys.
I will let them know.
Okay,
Thank
town
you.
office budget update.
So I was asked at the last meeting by Carrie to come to you with sort of an update on the budget for the work across the street. And here it is, the first spreadsheet. I'm sorry that it kind of got cut off onto 2 pages, but so the first spreadsheet shows the first 2 requests that we did with the expenses. You'll see, so the top line that's bolded, which says Giancola relocation, all that, those are the budgeted amounts that we had put in there. You'll see that the Giancola is actually a up-to-date budget. So with the change orders and with some of the other things, that shows what the actual up-to-date budget looks like. But the rest of it is basically what we have spent so far, which equates to $129,497.65. So if you, and then let me start over, or let me go back. The next page is the proposed budget. So back when this was originally contemplated and Stan put together the budget for this was the draft budget that came in. And you'll see that the overall project came in at $403,242. So that is the proposed budget. If you go back to the first page and you take what the increase for Giancola is and you add 100% of the other bolded items across the board, you come up with a total project cost of $420,154, which says that if everything were to be spent 100% from here on out, we're looking at $17,000 over budget. So hold on, there's another piece to this. I am very, very confident in looking at the expenditures that we made under relocation. If you'll look, August 1st, we put $5,400 in. That was the expenses that we had. That was for the move and everything. And then $80 for the next time was basically for the rental of the box out there. Now, there are a little bit more fees on here that we need to put into here, but I really think that the cost that we incurred moving over is going to be, was more or will be more than what it will be going back over. Because when we came over here, we had to move a lot of things. We had to get internet. We had to, I believe, build some things and have this building cleaned and things like that. So I think we're safe in saying, and again, this is an assumption because I don't know what's going to happen, but if you look at that and you saw that we spent $5,500 to move over here, I think it's safe to assume that we're not going to spend quite as much, or even if we do, we're looking at roughly $10,000. So there's a savings there of between $9,000 to $10,000 in that relocation. So that picks up about $9,000 to $10,000 of that $17,000 that we're going to be over. Everything else moving out, I believe we're going to see full expenditure. I think the only real option here for savings is going to be on that relocation. The architect, and then so the architect is the oversight and all that part of it, and then the general admin is the person doing the grant for us. It's some of the oversight, and then the architect is actually the design. I'm sorry, the person doing the design. It may be there's going to be a little savings here if I can get them to throw me something back for that wall that should have been in the design that wasn't. I don't imagine it'll be a lot. It may be $1,000 or two, but that's better than nothing for sure. So long story short of this, I think that today, moving forward with full expenditure of all of the items, as well as a savings of the relocation expense of roughly $9,000 to $10,000, we're going to look at somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000 will be over budget. I will tell you that the majority of that, and I would, again, anybody who wants to see this, I'd love to show them, but a lot of those expenses were things that were just unforeseen. Again, we had posts and beams and things that were not secure. We had some plumbing things. We had some electrical things. We had a wall that was built, and when the wall was built, it created a frost barrier so that the plumbing behind the wall would have froze. So that wall had to come down, which is horrible, so that we could include those plumbing, those pipes in the thermal envelope so they didn't freeze. So there were a lot of little pieces that we didn't know. And once we opened it up, it's an old building. We found some things that we didn't think we were going to feel safe keeping that way. And I think that's why we're looking at this overage right now. But again, I am very confident that we can see some savings in that relocation. I'm going to try to make it as much as I possibly can. But it makes sense to me if it costs us $5,500 to move over here, it's going to cost us no more than that to move back. So that's kind of where we're at. I'd love to hear any questions you got. I'll do my best.
Yeah, where's the contingency built into that, Greg?
The contingency is already built into that.
Where?
So there is I believe he put in a 15% contingency.
Yeah.
I don't have that in front of me, but I remember seeing it under his other budget. And there was it was either 10 or 15%. I want to say he put 15% in there. So there is yeah, you're right. I guess you're right there. There's, the total project, 10% total project is 40 grand. So, if we take that into account, then we'll probably be okay. I need to look back and see what that number actually was, but that has been eaten up by at least the Giancola part of it was eaten up by that.
Yeah.
But if you add that, you're exactly right though. If you add that to it, then we're looking a lot better. These are assumptions that every bit of this budget is going to be spent. And maybe that's not necessarily, the case. Every bit of that budget would be 110% or 115%. And that's really not what we're going to see.
No.
But just looking solely at numbers to numbers, as they are what they are, we are at a budget, a draft budget of $403,000 and an actual budget of $420,154.
there any comments or questions anybody else has?
I did notice the floor of the meeting room, which is the ceiling over Celia. The floor joists were actually round trees with the bark still
Yeah.
on them,
Right.
and
Yeah.
just flattened on one side, and they had been modified, unfortunately, over the years. So that's an old building.
Yeah.
Guess that's why it's historical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well, there are
expensive.
some other areas where they had actually cut a joist to make room for a pipe or a electrical or something like that, and just
Yeah.
left it that way. So it sort of was just hanging there, and the roof or the ceiling was starting to collapse in that area because the
Mm-hmm.
was coming down on top of it.
I mean,
Right.
I'm not
There are a
just,
lot of hidden surprises. What?
I'm not disputing that that these things needed to happen. I guess to me, it's a lot over budget, and we spent a lot of money on these engineers. And their simple solution at one point was, oh, just bond hire. I kind of didn't like that, and I kind of am wondering, where are we getting this extra 10,000? What are we pulling from to pay this extra 10,000, possible extra 10,000?
So in the budget, I can tell you where the budget came from. So we have the grant, which is $100,000. We have the bond, which is 230. We have the building fund, which is 50,000. The equipment fund, which is the public works equipment fund, of 15,000, and then there's some town in kind of 8,242. That in kind is not included, in this balance sheet. So that's sort of a wash there, but so we're looking at, we've already pulled from 1, 2, 3, 4 different places.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's something we would have to discuss. I really think that we're going to find some savings. I really think the relocation is going to save us some money, so it's not going to be as bad as we thought. That contingency is definitely something that I did not take into account because I'm showing full expenditure of dollars. But I don't know that that's going to make a huge dent in this, honestly.
Carrie, I guess on this one, I look at this as kind of the hand we were dealt.
Yes.
It's 100-plus-year-old building. You're never, ever, ever going to be able to estimate it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just concerned of since we're over,
Yep.
where are we coming up with that money? That's what my concern is. It is not, it's already money spent. We paid nothing for that building. So,
Right.
Yeah.
it's not that part, spending it on the building isn't the problem. It's the
Where's it
over budget and where do we get it? That I'm trying to conceive.
Well, if we have to go back to the taxpayers, they're the ones that wanted this old building done. And there were just way too many things. That was an old coal bin when I remember it back 50, 60 years ago or more. And you didn't see all that stuff. It was all kind of covered up. And you get into an old barn or any old building of that 1800s era, you're going to have some unexpected stuff in there. And you got to do it now. You can't do it down the road.
Right, and I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying
Oh,
the same if it was at my house, where am I getting the money to pay for it?
well, we'll have to scrimp and cut somewhere else. Or we're going to have to say, hey, you wanted this old building done. This is what happened. We
Well, I
spent
think we can't put,
years
I don't
on
think we
this.
put fault on the taxpayers when the select board had the opportunity to move years ago and chose not to. So, you know, we came up now with this alternative, and it's unfortunate that we did spend so much money, I agree with Carrie, on these engineers, that so many of the stuff should have been caught. Granted, you pull boards off and you find things that you knew weren't there. But when you set up standards for building a building, you've got to know the code, especially when the whole cost to this was to make it ADA accessible. That's a huge chunk of this project. And that's one thing that they overlooked. And
When-
that's hard to swallow.
Yeah, but when did this new code come in?
Well, it's a code for any, I mean, you have an elevator for ADA compliance and you need to get a wheelchair in there. They need to know the parameters and the scope of the size of that doorway. And they don't know that? Of course they do. And I think they just overlooked it somehow. So that's huge. It added some cost to the project.
Yeah, what was it, $1,700 or something?
Yeah, I want to say roughly. I was thinking about 2,000. I can go get that if you need me
So,
to.
Right, and my whole thing is the same as you. We paid a lot of money, and I just don't feel that we got what we paid for.
I just think we need to start looking where we're gonna get that extra money for if we do go over by X amount.
Yep. Right, at this point, we just have to figure out where the money's coming from, and that's kind of what my major question has been, is fine, the project's over, where are we pulling it?
Right.
Maybe you'll have to pull it out of some paving or something. You know,
Greg, would you ask the town treasurer if they would have any suggestions for us?
Sure. I can do that. Yeah, I'll do that. I will do that. I don't know if you heard me, but I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else anybody wants to, regarding the town building? Okay,
It's actually on schedule according to the contractor, so we should be back home maybe towards the end of November, possibly a little sooner. But
was that the original date, end of November? I heard beginning of November.
I thought it was beginning, but
Yes.
COVID put us back.
right.
Right.
They-
And there's a lot of people over there lately.
Well, the contractors are catching up, and material is getting harder to come by.
Right.
Hard to believe, but 2x4s are hard to come by. Sheetrock, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Have we figured out, once the building is open, we would be able to start meeting there again, right? Would we have enough space, I guess is my point with COVID.
Not to have, we could probably make it work for the select board to meet there, but we wouldn't be able to have anybody else there.
Okay.
That building is not, I mean, I haven't measured the room, but I'm sure we could do 6 foot with 5 or 6 people, but beyond that, I don't think it would accommodate that.
No.
But I was planning on doing Zoom for at least the next year anyway. I think it's kind of become the new norm. So we can have that available to people anyway, if you decide you want to go back to that building.
You have to have the remote access for all the public.
Yeah, there has to be the option. I just think there is something to be
Because of
said
the
for-
emergency order, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
think, yes, it has to be available for the public. I just think there is something to be said if it's possible for the 5 of us to be in the same room together.
Yeah, I think it's beneficial.
I would love that. Yeah, I'm going to be at the, I will be meeting there.
it's,
Yeah.
I feel like a guest on Hollywood Squares.
Circle gets the square.
Well, and Carrie's in the middle always. So it's never
I
fair.
know.
Em,
Yeah.
you're in the middle of my screen.
Oh, that's weird. All right. Review of the firearm ordinance as pertains to BB guns. Update.
So in front of you is a compilation of a few towns that I researched to see what they had as far as ordinances on firearms and how that related to BB guns. I found 2 places, Bristol and Wallingford, that did reference BB guns within their ordinance, and those are attached for your review. Yeah, so the ones that say no access to information is simply because they either, well, they didn't have a website, honestly. I did all this research online, so, so this information is for you, and I'll let you do what you do.
I looked at Killington also, and they, you know, they restrict firearms. They don't restrict BB guns.
Yeah.
Or pellet
Yeah,
guns or bows and arrows or any of that stuff.
I think we're going overboard on it personally.
So I'll just share with you, the city of Rutland has no person shall discharge or fire or cause to be discharged or fired any revolver, pistol, rifle, shotgun, slingshot, air rifle, BB gun, or other similar firearm or weapon within the limits of the city of Rutland.
They are a huge city. We are
Yeah.
small.
Oh, I know
rural
that.
town.
I know
I
that.
don't think there's any comparison whatsoever.
Right. And Wallingford and Bristol are the only ones, and they're small. They're small towns. They're spread out.
All right, let's take a vote.
They have BB gun regulations though.
Who do?
Wallingford, Fairhaven, Wallingford does.
Yes. Yeah, Greg's got that in his information here.
Right, I know. Well, Bruce just said they're a small town or something, or they don't. I don't know. He said the opposite of what it was.
They've got it in there, Bristol and Wallingford, but
Right, they have it. Yeah, so you can't shoot them off there.
yeah, but
And I don't think to the extent, and I'm not saying either way, I'm not going either way with this right now. I'm just saying when I think of BB guns being restricted, I think of the more like village of Proctor. You know, like if I live on the West Proctor Road and there's a mountain behind me, have at it, go hunting, you know? So I don't think, and I think Phil, when you were speaking before, you were talking about living in your area where there's woods behind it. You know, I don't think there's any restrictions there, you know, would be, even if this did exist, so to speak, so.
The 2 towns that do have one, they're all it's saying is within 500 feet of a dwelling.
Right.
Dwelling or town property? It's dwelling, town property, or school.
yeah.
And I would hope most people wouldn't shoot a BB gun within those areas, you know, no matter what town you're in, so.
Yeah, I think this was just a thing that came up, and if you're going to do every ordinance like this, you're going to be changing a half a dozen ordinances every time you turn around.
I think we got better things to do with our time.
Yes. Yeah.
So is there a motion to keep the ordinance as is and not alter it or revise it to include BB guns?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
All right. Volunteer service agreement.
Yeah, so this came to me from the rec, the skating rink managers. They have a lot of volunteers who help out around there, and they were a little concerned with the COVID and other things that if they were to get sick or something or get hurt while volunteering, if they would be covered in any way. And what this is, this actually came from VLCT, I believe, and it's just a statement saying that that they are volunteering their time, but what it does is allow them to sort of act as sort of a quasi-employee, and that would make them covered under our workman's comp. That was the understanding that the managers had given to me, and that's sort of how I read it. But
Oh, do we want to do that?
well, no. So let me finish. Let me finish. So that was originally what the discussion was about, and I think what the document does is basically acts as sort of a waiver. that says, and I'm sorry, I came the wrong way. Sorry, Ben, I confused you.
It's the
It's
opposite.
the opposite of that. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's sort of, they are acting as employees. They are sort of employees. They are getting a small stipend from us, not from the town coffers, but from the collections that are made at the rink. They pay them to sort of volunteer, which is weird. But so the concern was, does that constitute them making them employees, and are they then covered under our workman's comp and all that? And what this sort of does is basically says that, yeah, I know that I'm a volunteer, and I know I'm not an employee, and I'm not covered under the town's workman's comp.
Okay.
So I completely confused myself, and I confused you, and I'm sorry. But that's what this actually is. It's more of sort of a waiver saying that we understand that we are not covered under the town's workman's comp, even though we are volunteers who are getting paid a small stipend.
There are some towns that use that with their emergency management people, but not many of them.
Okay, I see it now. I hold the town harmless for any injury. Yeah, okay.
But because we just wanted to cover this base, just because they do get a little stipend or a little bit of money for helping out, and they are considered volunteers, we didn't want there to be any any idea that they were actually employees, that they should be covered by the workman's comp.
That makes sense.
You scared me.
I'm sorry, I'm tired.
You and me both, Tom.
This being homeless stuff is tired. It's wearing me out.
Well, I read it. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what I read. So I had
Right.
to look at it again.
That's why I switched back to the duck. I was like, wait a second.
Take the first thing I said and just reverse it, basically.
I think it's a great idea. It certainly covers our butts. I just hate to scare off any volunteers. What do you think about that?
I'd rather be covered than worry about scaring off volunteers.
I agree with Judy.
I would too, yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I don't think it's gonna scare off very many volunteers, because most people who volunteer in town already do it at their own
Right.
will.
Greg, you would take care of this? There are other volunteers in town, Beaver Pond, Our Yard.
Are we gonna do all of them? Or are we
Well,
just?
the reason why this sort of came up was because there was going to be some pay involved, but they're not, they're not contract employees. They're not they're nothing. They're not affiliated necessarily with the town in any way through a contract of any kind, but they are there and they are getting some money. So the idea was just to sort of cover us in case anybody ever said, well, they're employees. This person was volunteering and they fell on the ice and broke an arm. Well, you're paying them, they're employees. We just wanted to make sure that we were covering our backsides on this one. This could be used anywhere though. I mean, if we wanted to make all volunteers sign this, I think it would we could do that, I'm sure, but I just don't know how necessary it would be.
I don't think that's necessary, especially for like the Beaver Pond group or the Our Yard, because we don't volunteer for one of the town departments. We're like a separate entity that just volunteer.
And I want to clarify, we don't pay.
No, I'm sorry. We do not pay. It comes out of the money that the rink
They pay.
collects.
So
Yeah.
I think this is a great document, and I think that if the rec wants to use it, like if the Canucci's want to use it, then that's great. I think it does clarify for them, but I think making it for every volunteer, because they also have to sign it in front of the town clerk by the looks, unless we want to change that. I think that's a lot. I mean, some people don't think about volunteering. Like somebody showed up at the Beaver Pond on Saturday that has never come to the Beaver Pond before and just heard there was a work crew. I don't want to turn them away because they don't have this piece of paper.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, volunteerism is down. Let's let them volunteer.
I think this is really only for, because at the rink they get paid to make ice. So I think that is a little bit muddy, but I think if it's just a straight volunteer that doesn't have any compensation, then there wouldn't be any expectation of anything.
Right. But I'm all for the rink. I think it's great that they,
Yeah, I agree. I think this is very prudent.
The rink and the pool, I think. would be a
right,
good idea.
exactly, even if the pool did it too.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, who's
All
gonna
right.
follow up on this? Who's gonna,
I will let the managers know tomorrow that the select board is okay with the document, and they will do that as that's part of their duties. So I'll let Megan know.
thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, the manager's report.
And you, before we finish, go to that, maybe we want to give her the opportunity, if she looks at it, to revise it too, because I don't think that everybody needs to go into the town clerk to get that attested.
Yeah, I mean, that's really just sort of a CYA that says, yeah, so we can prove, yes, indeed, this was the person who filled this out and it wasn't forged by anybody.
Yeah, if we get into VLCT.
I mean, this came from VLCT.
Right, I'm just saying, she can look at it, and if she thinks that that's too much, I'm okay with them changing this document as well.
Understood. Okay.
All right,
Okay, so my report is in your packet. I'm just going to go over a couple little items here. So the Beaver Pond Trail, we had that virtual public meeting on the 17th to go over the design for the Beaver Pond shared use, multi-use trail. I don't know if you remember, but that's the trail that starts basically in front of the office here and goes all the way out to about where the dam is at.
We need to rename that. That's a path. We need to rename that.
Beaver Pond shared use path.
It's a path.
Yeah. So we had the meeting, and the meeting was going swimmingly until we showed the design to Frank VIII, and he said, I never agreed to put the trail right through my property. So I met with Frank the next day and walked all over his property and sort of tried to brainstorm some alternatives. The engineers will be getting with me, I'm hoping this week. He was on vacation last week. But the idea is that all three of us will get together, Frank, myself, and them will get together and see if there's another option here, or something that might work for Frank, because he's got some plans for the property, and he feels that trail through the middle would cause issues with that. So,
Greg, Stan told us all this back in the spring. We were aware that he didn't want us in the middle of his property. The last Stan got to us was we were going to see about going up the edge of Market Street on the very edge of our right-of-way.
yeah.
Frank made it sound like we weren't aware of anything, but Stan had made us aware.
Okay, good. Well, when I talked with the engineers or the design people about going up Market Street, they said that is an option, and they looked at that at one point, but that at some point they were told by Stan that Frank was okay with it going back through the middle of his property. And honestly,
I think he was way back.
Well, they were under the understanding that now he was okay with it. I don't know where that came from. I can only speculate because I don't know, but they were completely under the understanding that they had been given the go-ahead to put it through the middle of the property. But it is in the scoping study that they did to go along Market Street as well. Frank is going to have issues with it because he thinks he's allowed to have on-street parking up there for his venue, which is, I didn't talk to him about that yet. You're shaking your head because you're right. But that's another bridge we'll cross when we get there. But that may be that will be definitely part of what we discuss whenever I meet with the engineer is do we look at Market Street as well? But Frank had some other ideas about different places up his property that might work as well. So right now I'm waiting to hear back from our engineer or design people to go over with Frank and sort of figure out if there's any alternatives for his property. If not, then we're, I guess, looking for another direction. Maybe Market Street, maybe something else.
Frank did come into the Planning Commission, it must be 2 years ago now, and told us about his plans, but he said he wasn't ready to apply for a permit yet, and that's as far as he's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I
Yes.
remember.
And back, I want to say in the spring, maybe it was even before that, he had come in and remember he said that if we wanted to put the path through there, we would have to buy that property. We discussed this at a board meeting. And we decided that we were not going to buy that piece of property.
No, I was under the understanding we were going up on the very edge of our right of way along Market Street from Stan.
Right, because we said no to that and he said, no, we're not going through his property.
Yeah, I do the same thing if I was him.
Okay, so you'll look at the alternatives?
So we'll be meeting and find out what the next step is.
Okay.
Moving on to the water department, the tank removal contract number 7. We have the Belden company who won the bid, and we're currently working on the contract to get that done. I believe the RFP states that we want to get that done, I think, by the end of November, I believe. It shouldn't take them very long to do it, but hopefully real soon we'll have that contract finished, and we'll be moving forward on getting that tank taken down and mark that off of our list. The lagoon liner. So 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last Monday, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we found a cut in the liner, in the side of the liner, right where the baffle, and this baffle is basically a curtain that's made of vinyl that goes and creates sort of 2 lagoons. And it looks as though it may be turtles, it may be just rubbing against, I don't know, but something has caused a tear, and it's a pretty substantial tear. They have been lowering the water level of those lagoons, and we do that super slow so that we don't mix things up and our numbers start to get to where they're beyond our allowances with the sediment and stuff like that. So they're still actually lowering it, and we haven't gotten down to the bottom of the rip yet. But we've got the materials. Simons has actually told us that, town, if you buy the materials to do it, we will do the work ourselves. So they're going to come in and they're going to do the lay down the patching material and put the glue down and roll it out and do all that, as well as backfilling behind where the void was at. So what happened is once we got the material out of the way, there was a big void under there where either the turtle had dug out or water had gotten in and taken the dirt out or something. So that had to be backfilled, and then the material will be laid back on it and glued back down. The catch to this whole thing is that baffle curtain. So that, in my opinion, and I'm not an engineer, but if you look at it, it looks like that baffle has been part of the problem with this liner, because it's rubbing. The bottom of it has a metal wire, and it sits up against the rubber, and it moves back and forth with the waves because it's a curtain. It's a suspended curtain. And I think it's rubbed a spot there. So we have been in contact, or Simons has been in contact with the state to find out whether or not that baffle has to be there. The original design did not show it, but it sounds as though it's been there about 20 years and it was kind of an afterthought. So we're waiting to find out from the state if that even needs to be there. If it doesn't, we're going to get it out of there because it's causing issues, and we're going to patch it. If it has to be there, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do as sort of an interim. I would prefer to not take the old one out and put a whole new liner in, or a whole new baffle in, if we just have to rip it back out in 10 years and to put the liner in. That doesn't seem like, a good idea. So I will let you know where this goes, but right now the materials are here to fix that rip. We're just waiting for the state to tell us whether or not we can remove that baffle and get it completely out of the way and get it out of there for good, or if we have to do something else with it. So that's sort of a holding period right now, I guess. What else? The capital budget. So I began drafting our 5-year capital budget. And again, what this basically is just sort of a roadmap. It's 5 to 7, maybe even 10 years out, that identifies all of the items that we think we're going to have to spend a substantial amount of money on. A capital item is anything that's over $5,000. So we go department by department, and we're looking at, okay, when does this truck have to be replaced? When does this piece of equipment have to be replaced? The lagoons, whatever it is. And we try to map that out. That way we have an idea of how things are coming down the pipe. as well as if we have any surplus or if we have any fund balance, we can sort of start saving money to pay for these items as opposed to bonding for them. You know, if we're able to do this correctly, there is a chance that when a truck needs to be paid for, instead of bonding for it, well, that's a bad example, a pump or something large expenditure, we're able to maybe not bond for quite as much if we've already saved some of this money back, knowing that that expense is coming down the pipe. So that's sort of what this 5-year to 7-year capital plan will do for us. So I'm working on that. It's going to take me a little while because I'm actually working on the regular budget as well. We've just started doing that. But that's something you will see in the future, probably around budget season. I will have that to you. It'll be a draft, and we'll kind of go from there. What else? The skating rink, actually, Greg King did a presentation on the 23rd to the bank about their grant, and he thinks it went really well, so we'll hear something. I don't know what the timeline is for them getting back to us, but I'm assuming we'll hear something pretty soon on that, and they'll be moving forward on some improvements at the rink. So that's my report. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And
Anybody have any questions?
Go ahead. I was just going to ask where we were with the dog tags.
Yep, so the dog tags, we've compiled all the dog tags for not only last year, but the year before, because when you don't pay the year prior, they fall off for the next year. So we've got 2 years of back tags that I've given that I have to give to the sheriff's department. I have them with me. I was at the event Friday night or Saturday night, and I was going to give them to the sheriff, and I wasn't there late enough. Did they show up, by the way?
Yes.
They did. Okay. I was planning on giving them the whole list because I've got a whole stack of things, but I'll get with them in the next day or two, and I'll get that list to them. Talking with Celia, that's the way it's always been done in the past. Is we have a list of however many on whatever date. She gives them to them, and they go and do what they do. They start making phone calls and start reaching out to people. So that's what will happen. I will get those to them sometime this week, and they will start making their phone calls.
Okay. And where are we with the Beaver Pond illegal docks?
Yeah, so that will be going to the Beaver Pond Committee. Whoa, I've got all kinds of. I got a David Carmen.
Mm-hmm.
He's waiting. I'm gonna let him in. Tom, did you guys? Was that on the last? It wasn't on the last agenda for the Beaver Pond Committee. Well, I think it was, wasn't it? Was there any discussion about that at the last meeting? Do you remember?
Not the last meeting, a couple meetings before, yes. The committee voted to, they didn't want to be responsible for any private material on town property.
Okay. Who does the minutes for those meetings? Anybody? Or is it? I know, that's why I know why you're laughing, but.
No, we don't keep minutes.
Okay, so now that I know, I will write some letters to the people that have that out there, and I will get them to remove it.
For the committee meetings, we don't keep minutes?
There is somebody, but I don't know.
I don't even know that you have a quorum at this point, do you?
I think there is a quorum. I don't know. It's always on the first Wednesday, so I don't make it because I have Rutland County Solid Waste District.
When I was on Beaver Pond Committee, I always kept minutes. And the skating rink, we always keep minutes.
Well, there's a person that's supposed to do that, and when she's not there, Stan was doing that.
Yeah, Stan always.
I don't know.
I do the skating rink, but I haven't gone to all the Beaver Pond, so I haven't been doing those.
And I think, too, we should consider not storing things on town property as well, like canoes and kayaks.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to do. This is going to say that you cannot have any overnight storage of anything on those beaches or on the pond or the surrounding pond. I'll do some language. I'll write a letter that basically says that because it's a day use facility, so it's not meant to have overnight of anything unless it's something that the town has put there. So that's what the letter will basically say, is that you've got blah, blah, blah time to please remove your things. It's a day use facility. There's no overnight storage of anything at all. Something to that effect.
Okay.
Wasn't that going to include rafts and everything too, Tom?
Yeah.
Yes, any
Yes,
personal.
That's the way I remember it. So rafts and anything laying on the bank like it is now,
Right.
gotta go.
Nothing overnight. You can have it there during the day and it can be sitting there, but once you leave, it's got to go with you. So I'll write some letters I'll write some letters and get them out.
My other question, because I don't see it on your report, is where are we with the car in the creek?
Car in the creek, the last discussion we had was that the state, actually, is he still here? Where is?
Dave's
Yeah,
here.
he's still in there.
I think at the last meeting, we talked about that, and the understanding was that I don't have my minutes from the last one.
I thought they were supposed to get in contact with us within this time frame, and they have not. So I kind of want to reach out to them again.
Let me grab my notes.
I think we got to be a thorn on this one.
I thought they were gonna talk with Green Mountain Power.
Yeah, so I have that A&R Patrick Lokes was going to get with Green Mountain Power to look into removal of that. What it was going to, and what sort of damage or whatever it was going to take to get it out of there. That's what I have from our last meeting.
Maybe that's what Dave wants to talk about.
Yeah, if Dave doesn't come on and want to say anything about that, can we please reach out to this Mr. Stokes and see what the update is?
He just messaged us that he doesn't have a microphone.
No audio. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to touch base with them again, because pretty soon it's going to sit there until spring or next summer, and it's already been there a year now.
I just emailed him and see if there was any update on the car from his end of it. I don't know if he seems to sort of be their contact.
Can I just make a comment for future that just from what I'm used to and in the past, that the committees start keeping minutes, and when committees make a decision, it comes to the select board and we make the final decision. The committees do not make the decision.
I think we were just asking the committee.
Yeah, it was for their recommendation.
Yes.
Yes.
That's all, that's what I understood.
Well, I'm talking about the pond stuff too, all the,
That's
the
what I'm
votes on
talking
that.
about.
Okay,
That's what
Yeah.
it was a recommendation. Yeah.
right, okay. So I just didn't know if we were gonna put it on to vote on it or what, if you wanted at a future time, or after he does the letter.
I was going to
Yeah,
read the
just
draft
did.
letter to you. Is
I'm
that
sorry,
what-
what, Ben?
Did everybody just see David's message to us?
No.
No,
It says, last I heard from Patrick Lukes, Bondoc was going to meet with GMP about what needed to be done to remove it. That was late last week. Thank you. Or the thank you was from Greg.
Okay.
I'll reach out.
So also, while we're on the comments here, did you also see the only comment I see that hasn't been addressed from Phil and Charlotte is the one about the Facebook page? And I just want to reiterate, the town does not have any power over the Facebook page.
And they were just referring to one Facebook page, correct?
They're the town of Proctor
their Facebook page.
It does not say on it that's
Okay.
official. You do have to look on it. If you do read on it, it does say that it is unofficial, but the town of Proctor does not run the town of Proctor Facebook page.
Okay. Because there are other Facebook pages that have Proctor on them that these same comments go on to, so it's not just that one page.
No, that's not what he's talking about.
No, I know, but they comment on those pages as well. That's what I'm just referring to. There's like a few Proctor pages, so not Proctor Town, but I've seen the same comments on those as well. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere where it says it's official other than that it says it's in a government organizational page. There's nowhere that says it's official on the title. It just says Town of Proctor, and you do have to read down to see where it does say it is unofficial. Because I looked.
Okay.
So Philip, I am working on trying to get a Facebook page that we've talked about doing a sort of a one-way Facebook page. I it's slow going because I don't know really what I'm doing. I don't do Facebook, and I'm trying to get my wife to help me out. But I have been given direction to do a Town of Proctor official, I guess, Facebook page.
Okay.
That would be good.
All right, is there anything else in the manager's report?
No.
Okay, we'll go into the budget status.
Again, just for your information, if there are any questions, I will do my best.
Hello.
They can hear you.
Hi. The website, the Facebook page has the town office's phone number on it. The town office's website as the official website of this Facebook page, and also is listed as a government organization and community center. They're fraudulently representing you if you're interested in that at all. It's just not something that I want to see representing me as a resident of Proctor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, back to the budget.
Any questions?
No.
Nobody has questions on the budget?
Yes, I had one, page 2, about 3/4 of the way down, miscellaneous.
Oh yeah, for 28,685.
That's a big miscellaneous
So,
for Proctor.
what that is that is was put in there by the auditors. They said put that in there for now until we figure out what to do with it. That is the monies that were lost when we did the tax sale. You have to account for the revenue that was lost. This was, the difference between the monies that were owed and the money that we collected when we sold those properties just recently. So for now, the auditors had told Celia just to put that in there as sort of a placeholder, and that it will be, I guess, figured out later on as to where it actually needs to apply.
That's news to me. Okay, thank you.
Anything else anybody has on the budget?
I think it looks pretty good.
Okay. All right, the sheriff's report.
Again, for you to review.
Any questions? It looked pretty mild.
What is this? Can I just ask, because it seems kind of silly, what is this COVID protocol that is now on here all the time? What does that mean?
I think it means they're distancing when they, just because I know with the city police, there's protocol when COVID came about that there's certain restrictions on pulling people over that the state kind of laid down. You don't pull certain people for minor issues because
For half an hour?
Huh?
For a half an hour?
Well, I'm just saying it could be
Hour
also,
on here.
but it could be distancing, like he met with somebody, but he was, had to have a mask on, had to do.
But it just says COVID protocol and it's a half an hour. I'm just wondering what that means.
Maybe he pulled someone over for half an hour and you have to follow protocol for COVID restrictions.
I don't know. I'll ask him. I got to talk to him about the dog tag things anyway, and I'll ask him what COVID protocol means.
Yeah, what does COVID protocol mean? Other than that, I'm just interested in what does COVID protocol mean for half an
They
hour?
know something we don't.
Exactly. What are they doing?
Okay, speed limit.
So Sunday, while working on Florence Road, which is 25 miles an hour, I cannot tell you the amount of people that are flying up and down that road. I had talked to Greg earlier. I just would like to see us get some of those speed signs that flash. I mean, at the same time they're flying up and down here, the sheriff is on the other side of the pond in the pull-off. So I don't know if the sheriff got anybody on that side, but on the Florence Road side, it's fast. Like not 40 miles an hour, 50, 60 miles an hour flying up that road. Now that we have a trail there and we have a pullout and we have the Crown Point Trail road right there, I would like to see a little bit more attention paid to it before somebody gets hurt. There's a lot of foot traffic now.
Well, let's ask the sheriff to keep an eye on that for a while and hold up on spending money on signs, flashing signs.
Well, it's not just there. In the morning, at 5:30 in the morning, I'm getting passed in town in a 25. And that person is flying. I've had people come to me about West Proctor Road when it switches from the 45 to 25 and people passing there. The sheriff is not around enough to do anything about it. And we need to do something about it before someone gets hurt. So we can ask the sheriff, but when that doesn't change it, what can we do to change it? And I just want to kind of have people maybe start thinking about it and brainstorming about it before we come to something that somebody gets hurt.
Yeah. And,
Okay.
oh. Yeah, we can't put speed bumps on some of these roads. I think there's some state regulations on that, and it's wicked in the winter when they're plowing. So that was on by Dave Carmen.
But
All right.
I will reach out and see if they can make a more conscious effort to fix that area a little bit. If you do want me to research the signs, I have used them in the past, so I can tell you quite a bit about them. There's a lot of different options out there, but they're not cheap, but there are a lot of options. I think there are a couple of places in town that it may not be a bad idea, but I will talk with the sheriff's deputy and ask him to put a little more presence in that area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else anyone has for old or new business?
Yes. Where do we stand on the dog ordinances?
I am sorry. I did not finish it yet. I am going to work on that. Now that I'm done with end of month, end of year at work, and I'm not putting in all this overtime, I have time to do it. I just have not done it. I went on vacation and then that all happened. So I told Greg I would try to have that done this week and off to you so that by the next board meeting, we already have time for everybody to look at it and we can decide on it.
Okay, so put it on next agenda.
Yeah, but I'm going to try to have it to you guys before then. So I'll send it to Greg so he can forward it to everybody. That way it doesn't count as a meeting.
Okay. How about the parking ordinance? Because I know that was in your manager's report as a line item.
Yep. Ben, I think that's on your plate, isn't it? He's lost sound.
Yeah, he's got to put his mic
Sorry,
on.
I couldn't unmute. I'm sorry. Yes. I've just got to get it forwarded to you guys. I apologize too. This is
We'd be glad to help Ben. One of us certainly.
I'll give you a call, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.